Hi, everybody. My name is Greg Knight, and I have been a host of Popping Collars for over 10 years now. During that time, I've had the privilege to talk with several people from the entertainment, academic, and religious worlds through our spinoff pod, Under the Stole. Every now and then, I have a guest on to talk about their new movie, documentary, book, or whatever other project. It's a great opportunity to dive deeper into the stories of some really talented artists and thinkers while learning more about what drives the creative spirit. So keep things under the stole with me and my guests right here on the Popping Collars feed.
All began, it just seemed like heaven, so I did it. Do you remember back in the fall?
Hey everyone, and welcome to Popping Collars. It's so good to be back with you. This is one of our satellite pods, Music Diary. My name is Ricardo Avila. I am the rector at St. Luke's Episcopal Church in Los Gatos, California, and with me is my music diarist, co-diarist. Please introduce yourself.
Hey Ricardo, it's your boy Greg, doing my thing over here in South Florida. You and I were just traveling recently, and so it's exciting to be back together with you.
It is. We were traveling. Yes, I was in England, and you were in.
I was in Spain.
Yes, you were.
Yes. France for a skosh, and then Spain for most of the time.
Right. Well done. Okay, folks, let's get to it. This is our music diary episode, as I mentioned, and we like to entertain a theme around which we each choose 5 songs, and sometimes try to strong arm Greg into letting me do 6 or 7 songs, but this time we are sticking to 5 each. I am calling the topic Forgotten Pop Gems. So we're in Music League together. And Music League, you have a theme and everybody picks a song and you don't know who picked what and you vote for them and people win and I wasn't winning and I had problems with that and blah, blah, blah. What I think happens sometimes in Music League is I try to pick the coolest song, or the most obscure song. And they'll think, wow, he really knows a lot about music because he picked that obscure song. And then I don't get voted on, except I won the last round, the last set of rounds. I got first place in overall points.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah. And for only having gotten actual first place in any themed round once. I don't know.
I failed abysmally this time.
Well, you stopped participating.
Well, that's true. I was out of the country for a while, but also the times when I did submit a song, I was nowhere close.
Oh. Well, so, that kind of got me thinking. I thought, there are all these songs I absolutely love. And, but they're not cool or whatever, but I just love them. And so I thought I want to maybe do a music diary around songs that are kind of pop gems that you might be a little embarrassed to like. I don't know. And then the other thing that happened was I was sitting in a cafe and they were playing music and they played a song. It's like, I know that song. What is it? And so I did my SoundHound thing on it. And it was a song called Carnival by the Cardigans. And so their big hit is Love Fool.
Right.
Love me, love me. And I thought, there are all these kind of forgotten pop gems, things I used to know. They're very pop music-y, but they, you don't hear them much anymore unless you happen to be in a cafe and it shows up, right? So all of that is going into the theme of forgotten pop gems. Now, my criteria for what songs I picked may not be yours, Greg. So for my criteria is they had to have charted in the US.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's a pop gem, meaning I'm not going to, choose some obscure song on the last album of the Smiths before they broke up or whatever.
Right.
So they had to chart on the Billboard Hot 100, let's say. And they have to be one of those songs, ideally, where you're like, oh, yeah, I used to know that song. Now, the thing is, Greg, I am turning 60. And by the time listeners, you hear this, I will be 60.
Wow.
Because it's been a week and a day, 60. You can see all the white hairs. And a little bit, there's some nostalgia. And obviously, what I feel nostalgia for probably might not be the same thing you feel nostalgia for. And so part of the pop gems that are forgotten theme is remembering things and how they made me feel when I used to
Yeah.
hear them. So all of that, it goes into this.
Again, Ricardo, I think I said this on the last time we recorded an episode. The reason that we are so perfect to host the show together is because we think exactly the same, which is incredible to me.
So that's exactly your understanding then.
So, okay, so two things stand out. One, you're so right. It's so exciting to be surprised by a song. So we talk about Music League all the time. There was one round of Music League that we did one time where we had to submit a song that had an animal in the title.
Hmm.
And it just so happened that earlier that week, I was surprised from a playlist that I had made on Spotify when Nana Cherry's Buffalo Stance came up. And so that was the song I submitted because I was just like so kind of like blown away that this song had come back into my life, right? Like I love it when that happens. It's so great.
Yeah.
But then the other thing is that we create rules for ourselves when it comes to these lists. I did the exact same thing. I created a rule for myself of what songs were allowable and what songs weren't because it's hard, right? When you think about something, a forgotten gem, because if it's a gem, I'm sure that there's going to be songs that we list out that someone listening right now is going to say, well, I listen to that song all the time, right? Like that's not a forgotten song. But if it's forgotten, was it ever really a gem, right? Was it ever really a popular song if like people forgot about it? So you're walking this tightrope between these
Mhm.
two things of what feels like a forgotten song, but what also feels like a hit song at the same time. Yeah.
That is, boy, we really do think alike. I mean, originally, like my five songs, there were four from the '90s, and then I thought, oh, I need to mix this up a little. And then I listened to those four, and I thought, I can see why a couple of these were forgotten.
Yeah.
They just don't hold up that well. And then I remembered one song that I re-remembered recently and thought, oh, I used to love that song. I never hear it anymore. There it is. And then I just sort of, everything exploded. So I had a lot of fun. And I would say this is probably the music diary list I feel the most at ease about.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
that's right. I feel really good about my five. I think that there are definitely some that you could quibble with on the forgotten side, and I
Right.
think that there are definitely some that you could quibble with on the gem side. But I really like these songs, so I'm excited to get to it.
Absolutely. Let's do that. I would say I have probably one song that would be maybe not forgotten or two, but I would defend all of them as gems.
Yeah.
So I can start.
Sure, go for it.
All right. My first forgotten pop gem, I'm just going to name it. It's an old song. It's a song from 1969 called Grazing in the Grass by the Friends of Distinction. It's forgotten, I think, but it is a gem. So here's what I want to say about this song. It's a jam. It is so groovy and joyful. And I don't know if you'll recognize it because, I was 3 years old when it came out in 1969. And then you sort of hear it for a few years when you're a kid. It was originally a song by Hugh Masekela. It was an instrumental, on trumpet in 1968. They took that, sped it up, added lyrics. And it's just basically about being joyful in life. And it's a real summertime song. Couple of things. Harry Elston is of Friends of Distinction. He wrote the lyrics. It went to number 3 on the pop charts. And Friends of Distinction broke up in 1975, so it didn't last that long, partly over creative differences. But they had 2 more top 20 hits and then a few other songs that charted. So they weren't one-hit wonders, but this is kind of the song, probably, if you remember any of them, it would be this one. Both before Friends of Distinction and after, they were involved in all these other situations. Like some of them were in the backup group of singers for Ray Charles,
Hmm.
called the Hi-Fis, I think it was. And then they renamed themselves the Vocals. And then 2 of those people went on to be in the Fifth Dimension, including Marilyn McCoo.
Oh,
So, like, there's all this stuff. And then this other woman whose name I don't remember, she came and was in the Friends of Distinction briefly. And she went on to sing with Earth, Wind and Fire and Parliament Funkadelic. So there's just very funky groove kind of situation going on and all this stuff. So I remember this song kind of like out of the corner of my mind when I was little, and it makes me think of summers in Chicago. I was born there and lived till I was 7. And so when I hear it, I just picture being a little kid on the cement sidewalks, like playing in the parking lot. And even though it's about grazing in the grass, cement, but it's got that summer feel. Oh, this is how I came across it. Couple years ago, you know that song Fancy that I've
Oh
featured
yeah. Hmm.
by Bobby Gentry? So
Hmm.
I don't know how, but I started Googling and I just somehow Billboard's top 100 songs of 1969 just came up. So, well, what's that? That list, I have just gotten so much from that list, including Fancy, which was number 8 for the year, the staff picks from Billboard magazine.
Yeah.
And this was actually number 99, but I think it's terrific. So that's where that little list. And ever since then, I thought, I want to try a different year and see what they thought then. But it's just such a rabbit hole that I'm just afraid to do that.
Yeah.
So, Grazing in the Grass by the Friends of Distinction from 1969 is my first forgotten pop gem.
That's awesome. So I'll do my first song,
Yeah.
which so I got to tell you, I think that as I'm looking at my list, I kind of have them ranked in order, not in order of how I like them, but in order of how I think I actually hit the assignment. Which is to
Oh,
say that I feel like the ones that I'm going to start with are the ones that I'm a little more squirrely about on whether they're a forgotten gem or not.
okay.
But I'm just gonna do what you did, which is like rip off the Band-Aid, and I'm gonna say that my first song is Handbags and Glad Rags by Rod Stewart.
So what becomes of you, my love, when they have finally stripped you of the handbags and the glad rags that your granddad had to sweat so you could buy?
This is one that is clearly a gem, but I don't necessarily think it's forgotten because I think that it's kind of lived on in the zeitgeist for a while. But then I did some research, and one, it wasn't written by Rod Stewart. It was written by Mike DeBow, who was the lead singer of Manfred Mann. He was shopping this song around, I guess. And Rod Stewart's version was recorded in 1969
Oh, nice.
and only made it to number 42 on the Billboard Hot 100. And so I was like, well, if it only peaked at 42, then I think that that qualifies as sort of being like a lesser than Rod Stewart song. We're not talking about like, Tonight's the Night or Do You Think I'm Sexy, right? We're talking about like something that's sort of B tier Rod Stewart,
Mhm.
which is kind of what I was kind of shooting for with this particular song. I kind of really like the songs that aren't the big hit for an artist, but are something that may show up on a greatest hits, but it may be like the last song, or like one of the songs that's like buried in the track list.
Yeah.
So, I was thinking of like, for Elton John, you could say like Mona Lisa's and Mad Hatters, right? Is like one of those songs that's just not quite at the top, but it's still a great song, right?
Right. Right.
Or Allentown by Billy Joel or something, where it's like it's not a great song, but it's like right there in the mix. And I feel like Handbags and Glad Rags is one of those songs for Rod Stewart. And then the other thing, and the personal thing, and probably the more diary thing about this pick is that while I was in Spain, this is really sad, but I needed to say it. A beloved aunt of mine passed away
Oh,
while I was overseas, and it was very sudden, and it was very shocking, and it was very sad.
mm,
And I was texting back and forth with my mom. It was my mom's sister, and so I was texting back and forth with mom like while I was over there. And she died the day that I arrived in Santiago, which is really eerie because in 2022, my former boss and mentor in the Episcopal Church, the priest that gave me my first job at the campus ministry in Greensboro, North Carolina, and basically taught me how to be a functioning professional minister. Charlie Hawes, he actually died the day that I arrived in Santiago in 2022. So both times that I've arrived in Santiago, I've had these sort of like big sort of death moments in my life. And I love Aunt Linda. She was amazing. She was the aunt that taught me how to be cool. She was like into like really cool things. She would let me hang out at her house when I was in junior high, because I grew up in rural North Carolina. She had a satellite dish and we did not, so she had access to MTV. So I just always I always thought of her as just this really cool lady that was just amazing. And I remember riding with her one summer to something, and she had a cassette version of the Rod Stewart Unplugged concert. And we were listening to it together, and I was like, that's really great album. Is it okay? Could I borrow it? And she loaned it to me, and I never gave it back to her. I kept it.
Right.
I know. And but like this is how cool she was. Like she never said anything to me about it, you know? She never was like, "Hey, you know, you stole my Rod Stewart cassette, right?" Like she was just like I think that she realized just how much I liked it and how much, you know, it meant to me. That's always what I remember about what it means to be cool. I wrote this to my mom after she passed, which is that my Aunt Linda taught me how to be cool because she was the kindest person in the world. And that's what it takes
Mm.
to be cool, is to be as kind as possible to as many people as possible. And so anyway, so Handbags and Glad Rags by Rod Stewart has a personal meaning for me right now, but I think it's one of those songs that if you haven't heard it in a while, it's great to kind of dust it off and listen to it.
Thank you, Greg. Here's to your aunt, or Linda, you said?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
To your
My Aunt
aunt
Linda.
Linda, and for helping you learn how to be cool.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
clearly,
Amazing lady.
yeah. I mean, the satellite thing and the MTV and all, I mean, it's still in you. God.
Yeah. No. No, those are all like those small things, but the big thing, yeah, the big thing is the kindness, which I'll never
Sure,
forget. Yeah.
sure. My second song, you said I think you said your picks are kind of like the less listened to songs on an album kind of thing, not the famous ones.
Yeah, that
Um,
one in particular, yeah.
I would say for me, 4 out of my 5 songs are like the biggest hit of a person or group that's forgotten,
Okay.
I think. But you'll know these. Anyway, my second choice was one of the songs I thought of right after I heard that Cardigan song. It's Torn by Natalie Imbruglia.
Uh,
I'm all out of faith. This is how I feel. I'm cold and I am shamed, lying naked on the floor. Illusion.
Came out in
Also a cover.
1997.
yeah.
It's also a cover, yes. Don't steal my thunder. I have something about
Oh,
that.
sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So Torn by Natalie Imbruglia, which I thought, oh, she's Italian, but she's actually from Australia.
Yeah.
Maybe she's Italian. I don't know.
Australian soap opera actress. Yeah.
She was. Don't steal
I'm
my
stealing.
thunder.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I took notes. You talk about you can fill in after. Well, she's a singer, songwriter, and actress from Australia. Actually, you can steal my thunder all you want. It's fine. It's fine. The thunder is to be shared. But yeah, but I took all these random things that online. It's like I got to do these notes, and I don't know what to like choose for like fun facts or whatever. But she was a judge on Australia's version of X Factor, which I believe is a talent show, like American Idol kind of thing. Yeah, see, I don't watch this stuff, but so Torn
It's
came
sort
out
of like the Gong Show. It's like you get these
Oh,
acts up there, and you have like a buzzer where you can
oh, you can buzz them out.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you watch the Gong Show?
I was a little young for the Gong Show. I
Yeah.
remember watching parts of it and thought it was mean-spirited, and so I did not watch it.
It was not kind. Um, but one of my favorite thing was Gene the dancing machine.
That's right.
Remember that guy? He'd come out and be like, dun, 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 dun. He'd be shuffling around, everyone would be clapping. Ridiculous. So Torn by Natalie Imbruglia from Australia. It is a cover song. A band from LA named Edna Swap. Never heard of them. They disbanded in 1998, just as her song was becoming a worldwide sensation. And as you said, she had been on a soap opera when she was younger. She's very like kind of like beautiful in that kind of like radiant way. I saw the photos. I guess she's in her 50s now. She's a little younger than me, I think. So it went to number one. So it's not forgotten, I would say. People know it, although I think people of this generation may never have heard it. The youngsters. But it topped the charts for 11 weeks. It's number one for 11 weeks. Rolling Stone named it one of the 50 best songs of the 1990s. That's something.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the song. It doesn't wear on. I mean, I didn't find it tiring or anything. And then when I looked at the lyrics, it's one of those kind of happy jangly songs. It's actually about, being torn and torn up and loss and,
I'm all out of faith. Yeah.
yeah. So it's a good song. So she still tours. Her last album, I think, was released in 2021. She's coming along to, I think she's coming along to the Bay Area sometime in the fall. And she's also acted on stage and been an actress in like shows and stuff, not just a soap opera, but a little bit here and there. You hear a pop song and it's interesting to hear some backstory on people. And I'm not saying she was depressed when she sang this song. She didn't write the song, but it does have those kind of depressive lyrics with the jangle thing. It's one of my favorite things, sounding happy but having sad lyrics. I find that pleasing, I guess is the word.
Oh, absolutely. I'll never forget listening to a Beatles documentary and John Lennon saying, when he was writing Help, and people were like, "Oh, what a great pop song." And he's like, "I am literally screaming help over and over again."
Yes. I need somebody. But the way he sang it, right?
Exactly, yeah.
That's the sort of song where you could do a pared down cover and it would be like, like Fountains of Wayne did Hit Me Baby One More Time.
Mm-hmm.
And when you sing it with just guitar, it's pretty devastating.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Torn by Natalie Imbruglia from 1997. It was a huge hit. I think it's mostly forgotten, but a lot of people, if they hear it, will know it, except for maybe people born after 2005. So that's my second pick.
I love it, and I will also add that the music video for Torn is incredible. I absolutely love it. Yeah.
I'll have to check it out.
Mm-hmm. My next pick, this one was one I was torn between two songs, and what I ended up going with was the song Popular by Nada Surf. This is an example of a song that is definitely forgotten, but was it ever really a gem? I don't know. It was released in 1996. It made it to number 11 on the Billboard Modern Rock Tracks
Okay.
list. But I don't know. Basically, I was looking for, in the mid 90s, coming out of the grunge movement, there were a lot of alternative rock songs that were very shouty songs. The song that actually got me to this song was Mother Mother by Tracy Bonham, which I also think is like a forgotten song. And but no, Popular was always one of those songs that stuck with me because it's actually, the lyrics for the song are taken from a 1964 teen advice book.
Ooh.
Called Penny's Guide to Teenage Charm and Popularity.
Jeez.
But when I tell you that the lyrics to the song are kind of demented, one of the sections of lyrics says, "Being attractive is the most important thing there is. If you want to catch the biggest fish in your pond, you have to be as attractive as possible. Make sure to keep your hair spotless and clean. Wash it at least every 2 weeks. And if you see Johnny Football Hero in the hall, tell him he played a great game. Tell him you liked his article in the newspaper." It's just...
Thank God. That's the lyric.
It's so incredible. But no, it was one of these sort of tongue-in-cheek, ironic songs, Popular, and it was one of these sort of shouty, like, I hate my life as a teenage high school student songs, and I love those back then. there was some controversy around the music video for this song because there was a moment in the music video. The music video was filmed at an actual high school. It has basically these characters, these football player characters, and this cheerleader character. And the cheerleader cheats on her boyfriend with one of the other football players at one point. And the two football players run into each other in the locker room and they wink at each other. Well, there's three possible takeaways. One is that the one player is winking at the boyfriend because he knows that the boyfriend doesn't know that he's cheating with his girlfriend. The other way to interpret it is that both of these players know that they're with the same girl, and so they're winking at each other. And then the third possibility is the possibility that the school where it was filmed decided, which is that these two boys were actually into each other and not into the girl. And so they ended up raising a stink as a result and tried to get the music video banned from MTV, but it didn't happen. So Popular by Nada Surf, one of those great 90s songs that probably has slipped off of your radar at this point, but I am delighted to bring it back.
So wait, so they wanted to ban the video because they thought it had kind of a gay thing going on there?
Yeah, I think that's what that
In
was what was being implied.
1996 or 7?
1996, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, it was the high school where the video had been filmed.
Exactly, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. It's
so late in time by then. Again, you've stumped me. I don't know that song either. An alternate universes. So it is a forgotten pop gem.
Yeah.
By me.
Yeah, I think so. It had a lot of radio play when I was in high school, and then after that, never really heard much of it again.
It's funny, I do wonder. I mean, we are obviously, I'm not a whole generation apart, but I mean, I'm going to be 60 and you're in your 40s, right? So it's like 11, 12-year difference, and that could be significant at certain points in your life.
It can be, yeah, absolutely.
I
think your attachment to 80s songs and my attachment to 90s songs kind of mirror each other, that
right. Right. I think that's true. Greg, the thing is, you have an advantage over me though, because like you can, I think even though you were born later, you have access to the previous songs that I also know. Whereas I think like at a certain age, you stop knowing the new music. So you have like 10 years more of music you can know.
I think that's true, but I'm also, I think that it's also like doing youth ministry and stuff like that has kept me current on music and stuff. So I don't know. It's kind of whatever makes sense for your life, I guess, right?
Yeah. Sure. All right. I think you're going to know every single one of my songs.
Okay. All right.
And I'm going to know none of yours. My third song is Telephone Line by Electric Light Orchestra.
Hello, how are you? Have you been all right through all those lonely nights? That's what I'd say.
It came out in 1976, and I have to say, this is something that it might not hold up in court or whatever, but I think Jeff Lynne is a pop genius.
He's amazing. He's a traveling Wilbury. So come on.
Traveling Wilbury. Yeah, no, right. And he did Xanadu, with Olivia Newton-John and all, or they did. And so I think he's a pop genius, and I think ELO itself is really kind of it's sort of a perfect pop idea. They marry kind of electric rock with classical instrumentation as well. I mean, the electric and the orchestra. Bringing light together. And that was a deliberate thing they did. They formed in 1970. They wanted that kind of sound. Their main years as a band are like 70 to 86. And they broke up, they regrouped, they had different formations, blah, 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 blah. But they just had their final tour in 2024, which I missed because I am an idiot. And I never thought, I'd always wanted to see ELO. And then as I was looking at this song and trying to pick, which ELO song do I want? I thought, God, I should have seen him in concert. It should have been so fun.
Yeah.
They're so fun. Not all their stuff, but their hits. So again, I would say there are 6 or 7 ELO songs that I would call pop gems. But I think I picked Telephone Line because it went to number 8, I think, in the Hot 100 or whatever in 1976. But I don't know that it's the one people think of the most when they think of the top 3 ELO songs. Maybe they think of Evil Woman, Don't Bring Me Down,
yeah,
and I can't think of it. All the other ones are tied for third place. And Sweet Talking Woman and all that stuff. So I'm having a little ELO listen fest these days, but I picked Telephone Line because I just think it's kind of hilarious. It starts out with like the phone ringing, like, and then the guy picks up and his voice is kind of muffled. Hello, how are you? And then there's like a doo-wop, doobie-doo-doo-wop later on.
Mhm.
And then there's that whole thing. My favorite part is when they go, oh, telephone line, give me some time. There's just that cry. Like, who even thinks to sing that?
Yeah.
Let's have these wails, you know. Oh, oh. And again, it's a sweet song, like sounds pretty, but it's devastating, you know. He's trying to reach someone who's like kind of done with him, you know. It's about missed connections. It's about ending relationships that have ended before you're ready to hang up, you know. But I love it, and I don't get sick of hearing it. So ELO sold over 50 million records worldwide, and here's something: they had 15 top 20 songs on the U.S. Billboard's Hot 100. They hold the record for the most Billboard Hot 100 top 40 hits, 20 of them without a number one.
Oh
So
wow.
they had 20 songs that made it to the top 40. None of them made
Huh.
number one. So
Wow.
that's something to, aspire to, I guess.
I would not
Um,
have thought that.
yeah, and they were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2017. And yes, those are real string instruments on their songs. Now, there are sometimes Moog synthesizers and, of course, guitars and drums. So I'm not sure that every single string sounding thing is a violin and a cello or whatever.
Hmm.
But they did use them, and they had them in concert as well. So
Huh.
I think this song is pop perfection. Listening to it again made me realize that one thing that keeps a pop gem from going stale, like so many do when you've heard them hundreds of times, is it has like different phases in it. Like all the ones I was saying just now, various things go on instead of just being repetitive. And I like that. It's sort of like, let me entertain you with this now. And then what about this? Here's the muffled phone voice. Here's the doo-wops. Here's the wails. And, so I just, I love it. So, Telephone Line by Electric Light Orchestra, ELO, from 1976 is my third choice.
I feel like ELO had a resurgence recently because I think I've been hearing Mr. Blue Sky pop up on like various movie trailers and stuff like
Yeah.
that, and maybe soundtracks or needle drops or something. So
Yep.
kind of feel like there's like a little bit of that going on.
Mr. Blue Sky it was not like a big hit when it first came out, but if
Hmm.
you go to Spotify, it's their most listened to song by a long shot. It's like
Yeah.
1.3 billion listens.
Yeah, I think it like
Um,
re-entered the zeitgeist later. Yeah. So my next song is from the band Simple Minds, and it's called "She's a River."
When I'm scared and about to lose, she gives me traveling shoes. She's a river and she's turning there in front of me. And I go blind. Wasting my time. The river's in front of me.
And the reason that I picked it is because it was actually inspired from the conversation that I had with Kyle about the James Bond theme song
uh-huh.
music diary episode that he and I did together. Because in that conversation, we talked about the evolution of Duran Duran and how there's this whole 80s life of Duran Duran, but there's also a 90s life of Duran Duran. And I've always found their 90s work to be sort of more mature pop music and also more interesting pop music in my mind. And so I was thinking to myself, what are some other 80s bands, people that you would identify as like an 80s band, and how their career kind of evolved into the 90s. U2 is a perfect example of this, right? But
Oh,
but Simple Minds is also an example of this. I mean, most people would obviously jump to Don't You Forget About Me because it had such an outsized role in pop culture because of the Breakfast Club, and it became like an anthem basically for a generation. But they kept making music well into the 90s, and I remember being a high school senior in 1995, and I was listening to the radio, and this was something that I don't know. I don't know that I guess kids listen to Spotify now, but there was something really exciting about listening to radio shows, especially like nationally syndicated radio shows. Not necessarily like top 40 countdowns with Casey Kasem or anything, or Rick
Mhm.
Dees or something like that. But there would be these syndicated shows that would introduce you to new music, at least where I was anyway, in our market. And there was a show that would come on late night on Sunday nights. And I
Mhm.
remember listening one weekend and they played the new Simple Minds single called She's a River. And it just totally blew my mind that, like, I had no concept that Simple Minds was still making music. I had no idea of what their music sounded like. And so to hear this song come over the radio was really incredible. This song was part of their 1995 album. It peaked at number 52 on the Billboard Hot 100. So it made the Billboard 100, but again, kind of like Handbags and Glad Rags, didn't really raise very far. But what I hear when I listen to it, is just how heavy an influence U2 had over so many of those 80s bands. It
Wow.
sounds like a U2 song being sung by Simple Minds. It's really amazing. They wrote it, however, and it's their song. It was inspired by Siddhartha.
Oh,
So I don't know. I don't know how many pop songs have been inspired by Siddhartha, but this one has. and
geez.
um, and so yeah, so I wanted to include it on the list because I love it when a band that you associate with a particular time and sound actually has a whole other life and a whole other sound in a whole other decade. And so that's my pick. Simple Minds, She's a River.
I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah.
You were talking about. I listened to your James Bond Music Diary episode, and I sort of scratched my head when you were both talking about '90s Duran Duran,
Mhm.
and I thought maybe. Well, I'm thinking now maybe this is where that '90s '80s thing happens for us. I'm like, no, the '80s were way better. Notorious, all this stuff. I actually don't know what their '90s songs are. Is it
Oh,
like all
come on,
all she?
Dawn was a big one. Ordinary World was what it
Oh,
was.
is that right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that. God, Simple Minds. I confuse them with Simply Red,
Yeah.
which is ridiculous because they're
The 80s were
different.
a simple time.
A simple time, exactly. Okay, well, that's your third pick. My fourth pick, you've got. I mean, if you've known all the others, you're going to know this one, but it's possibly the most obscure one. It's Mayor of Simpleton by XTC.
Well, I don't know how to tell the way to the sun, and the mathematics will I want none, and I may be the man simpleton, but I know one thing, and that's I love you. When
Came out in 1989. You've heard of XTC?
I do know XTC. I don't know if I know this song.
So you might know it, but I think their biggest it wasn't so Mayor of Simpleton actually was technically their biggest hit. It charted, and I think it's the only one that did in the United States. At number I took a lot of notes on this. It hit number 72 on the US Billboard Hot 100 chart in 1989, but I just think it's a pop masterpiece. So XTC. So when I was in college 84 to 89, and XTC was in the background, kind of. I wasn't cool enough to like XTC. They're from England, Critical Darlings. They actually started in the late 70s, kind of a punk new wave situation. Their earlier songs are like Making Plans for Nigel, Senses Working Overtime. So their earlier sound was a little kind of angular pop, kind of not
Mhm.
edgy, but like new wavy almost ish. But then like Skylarking, especially a later album in like, what did that, 88 or something? That's the one that has Dear God on it.
Oh,
And
yeah,
Dear
yeah, yeah,
God is a
yeah.
song that I think everybody knows if you're going to
Yeah,
know it.
that one my kids know. My girls know that song.
Oh, there you go. Oh, good religious song. That album Skylarking is lush. It's got all this orchestration and it's pop gorgeousness. So they never made it big either in England or in the United States, but they were kind of cult hit like folks. the what I read posits that they were just out of step with the times.
Yeah.
Their lyrics were really smart. Their melodies were jangly and kind of not abrasive, angular yet melodic. Andy Partridge and Colin Moulding were the two kind of main forces behind XTC. I was in a band in the 90s. Listen to me. I was in a band when I was in Madison. I just was with friends, and we'd play at bars, and there were like enough of us in the band, anywhere from like 6 to 12, and all our friends would come. So we'd fill out the bar, right?
Hmm.
And so people thought, wow, this place, we're going to book you again, and we were good. I think we were good. But a couple of the friends, probably the most musical of the friends in that group, were big XTC fans. And
Mm.
so that made me think, well, they're kind of important. And they were, but I don't know a lot about them. And I think they were only really big in the 80s, for as big as they got. They had a couple of albums like 1999 and 2000, but that was it. So Andy Partridge, when they were touring in 1982, on two different occasions on the tour, he collapsed on stage. And it was partly due to extreme stage fright.
Oh, wow.
I know. And so they said they'd never play live again. And I don't think they ever did,
Wow.
because of that, which really, kind of, what do you call it when you hit someone in the knees? You
Yeah.
knuckle them
It
under.
undercut them or something.
Yeah, they really
Yeah.
undercut their success.
Boy, but talk about, yeah, listen to your body, right? Like
I
you don't want to
know.
do this to your till you're dead. Yeah.
No, he just collapsed. And so, they do have, they're influential of their time, but Mayor of Simpleton, pop masterpiece. It's got terrific lyrics. It's the one that's worth reading the lyrics of all of these, I think, if you go to the Spotify. That's it. Mayor of Simpleton by XTC. It came out in 1989.
Okay, my next song. It's so funny that you were kept using the word jangle because my next song is what's called a jangle rock song. I didn't even know that there was a word. I didn't even know that was a term. But it turns out that it's a genre of song that I like very much. The song is called Something's Always Wrong, and the band is called Toad the Wet Sprocket.
Again, seems we meet in the spaces in between. You always say won't be long. Oh, but something's always wrong.
I knew that I wanted to have a Toad the Wet Sprocket song on here because one, I've always just loved their name, but
Totally.
also their music is really, I don't know, fun for me. It makes me think of sort of early '90s. So when I was in high school, we had this grunge movement, right, out of Seattle. So we had like the Nirvanas and the Pearl Jams and the Soundgardens, and then tangentially related to them were these other bands, so like Alice in Chains in L.A. or Smashing Pumpkins or stuff like that. But in order to fill out a radio station, you kind of need to add as many kinds of songs that can fall into that genre as possible. And
Mm.
so things that weren't alternative rock songs, that were just really pop songs, were starting to get picked up by alternative radio. So Depeche Mode and Counting Crows and stuff like this were all started getting added. And as a result, there was this sort of genre of alternative rock called jangle rock that was also getting picked up. Toad the Wet Sprocket is an example of this. The Gin Blossoms are an example of this. Matthew Sweet is an example
Oh,
of this, right?
I
So it's
love
like,
Matthew Sweet.
yeah, so it's like these people with guitars, like jangly guitars, like singing their pop songs, were somehow caught up in this, and yeah, as a result, you would listen to the '90s rock station, and in between all of these sad, depressing Seattle songs, you would get like these cute little guitar songs thrown in, "Better Than Ezra" and stuff like that, thrown into the mix. And so Toad the Wet Sprocket was always a band that stood out for me, and they had a lot of songs. I could have picked any of their songs because I think they're all kind of forgotten gems. But I've always liked Something's Always Wrong for the same reason that you were talking about Torn. It's a really depressing song, but it's sung in such a delightful way that you just miss the depressing elements of it. Right? It's just It's so sort of pleasant to listen to that you forget that the title of the song is Something's Always Wrong. So
Totally.
honestly, that's the only reason that I picked it is because I just love that there's this genre that exists alongside these other genres that really don't have a whole lot in common except for the fact that radio stations need to pad out their programming. And so my fourth pick is Toad the Wet Sprocket, and the song is Something's Always Wrong.
What year was that released, or what year is that from?
1994 was when that album was released, and Something's Always Wrong peaked at number 41 on the Billboard Hot 100.
I think it's great. I didn't know there was such a thing as jangle rock. I just use that word jangly to describe a kind of sound, and very much what you're saying, like the guitar-y, la, 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 kind of a not twang. It's not twangy. It's jangly. It's
Yeah.
almost like a little bell, like bells or something. Toad the Wet Sprocket. I know I've heard of the band. I don't even know. I never knew them. I just knew their name because obviously it's catchy, but. Someone I knew in high school that I roomed with in my first year at college in Madison, Tom, shout out to Tom, he loved Toad the Wet Sprocket. He had t-shirts, he went to concerts, he had their albums, he like extolled them all the time. And it's funny because he's this really kind of quiet, big guy who doesn't talk much, but he had this kind of fun, oddball sense, taste in music. My final pick is probably the most famous song. So there's no way I'm going to stump you of the five on my list. So I cannot say it's forgotten, but I think it is underestimated as a pop gem. If I were to be a little embarrassed by any of the songs, this would be the one. I think I Love You by the Partridge Family.
I think I love you, so what am I so afraid of? I'm afraid that I'm not sure of a love there is no cure for.
I just have always loved the Partridge Family. There are like five songs of theirs that I would defend. And this isn't even my favorite one, but I think it's the one that I can understand why maybe the other ones got forgotten, and then maybe this one isn't forgotten, but your daughters probably don't know it. And I just think, again, it's such a gem. It's a kind of a perfect little song, and it's got harpsichord. It's the only number one song I can think of that features harpsichord solo. In the recordings, unlike the show, the only people who really sang on the recordings were David Cassidy and Shirley Jones.
Mm-hmm.
And you may or may not know, but Shirley Jones was David Cassidy's stepmother when the show was happening. Mm-hmm. She was married to Jack Cassidy, the actor. And I guess originally they didn't want David Cassidy on the show, and it was kind of a Shirley Jones sort of vehicle, but he, of course, took off, and he was the big thing in the show. And so that show was on for 4 years, 1970 to 74. I don't know how they did it.
I mean, it kind of lived in that Brady Bunch territory, right? Where it was like, just families with kids and doing crazy stuff, yeah.
I guess so. I mean, we did watch it, but now I cannot imagine, like Gilligan's Island, like how did they squeeze out like 39 episodes a year on that premise, So the group was fictional. It's a little bit like the Monkees. It's like a prefabricated situation to make a TV show. Like the Monkees, I think, although I think the Monkees are better, I think they had some great songs. I'll Meet You Halfway. Doesn't Somebody Want to Be Wanted? So I wanted to include them. I've always wanted to include them in a pop playlist or something, or in Music League. I put them in a Music League thing that wasn't one that you and I are in. I forget what the theme was, but I put Doesn't Somebody Want to Be Wanted? And everybody downvoted it.
Oh no.
It's like an open place, anyone could join, and there were like 70 people in the group. And I think I got negative votes.
Wow.
I don't care. So just a couple things about David Cassidy. So, that show became so popular that they started merchandising all these things like lunchboxes and dolls and all this stuff. So his image was on everything, but he wasn't making any money. And he was the big star. He was getting like 30,000 letters a week from fans. And so he got kind of pissed off and was like, I want to make some money, and they wouldn't do it. Then they found a loophole, and so he started making money. Also on that show, in addition to Shirley Jones, was Susan Day, who went on to star in L.A. Law. She was one of the lawyers, and Danny Bonaducci.
That's right.
who is my understanding. So he had a messy personal life in there somewhere, but he also was a radio DJ and a talk show host, and eventually kind of beloved, I think. Um,
Mm.
oh, maybe not. Okay, maybe not. But he was like a little clever little brat on the show, which was
Right.
kind of fun to watch.
Mhm.
So did you watch the show somehow?
I
saw
did
you
in
watching.
syndication. So, like I said, it was part of the, when I was a kid, like all these shows were on like afternoon television programming. So, Brady Bunch reruns and Partridge Family reruns, Monkeys reruns. And then you would even have like reruns of Leave It to Beaver and
Yes.
all of that stuff going as well. Mr. Ed. So like yeah, all of that stuff. I mean, all of that stuff had a long life. We don't think about syndication nearly as much now, but gosh, back in the 80s, 90s, these shows just kept running. Like I think
Totally.
Gilligan's Island was constantly on television until like the year 2005 or something.
Yeah. My Three Sons,
Hmm.
My Favorite Martian,
Yeah,
Courtship of Eddie's Father.
Courtship of
Yeah.
Eddie's Father. Yeah,
My
all of
God.
that stuff. Yeah.
So, you can cut some of this, but I did the research, so I want to say it. So David Cassidy went on to have a solo career. He didn't get too far. He did have a hit with Cherish, which was a cover. Cherish is the word that I.
Mhm.
We had that single when I was growing up. But he did kind of have a second life to his career in the 80s, especially. He starred in the hit musical Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat and had guest star turns on a number of TV shows.
Yeah.
So, and I imagine with the syndication stuff, he was fine financially. His brother, of course, was fellow teen heartthrob Sean Cassidy, who was one of the two Hardy Boys on the TV show. I personally had more of an affinity to Parker Stevenson
That's right.
before I even knew why. But he died in 2017. David Cassidy did. He was only 67 years old from dementia,
Wow.
which I guess ran in his family. And Shirley Jones is still alive. She's 92 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, she was around in like the 50s. Wasn't she in like South Pacific or something? That is my fifth and final forgotten pop gem. Maybe not so forgotten, but certainly a gem and a
I
pop
love
hit.
it. You remember like in the 2000s, there was like this resurgence of 70s people because I remember David Cassidy sort of coming back at one point, and it seemed to coincide with like the Osmonds coming back. And of course, Cher would always have these resurgences periodically. Yeah.
I personally Cher never went away. What's your what's your fifth and final pick?
Fifth and final pick. We're gonna go full circle because I think it's kind of in line with the song that surprised you from was it the Cardigans that you were talking about early on or
Yeah,
something
yeah.
like that? So my fifth and final pick is the song "Crash" by the Primitives.
Here you go, way too fast. Don't slow down, you're gonna crash. You should watch your step. Don't look out, gonna break your neck. So shut.
And the reason that I picked this song is because I think when we first started talking about this, you had sent me the clip of Loveful and all of that, and that got me thinking about the Cranberries. It got me thinking about the Sundays. It got me thinking about Till Tuesday. It got me thinking about like all of these kinds of like female fronted groups that also have a little bit of a punk aesthetic to them and stuff. And for me anyway, Crash has always been one of those songs. It's a really great pop punk song from 1988. Made it to number 3 on the Billboard Modern Rock Tracks, but it's one of these songs that lives in that vein of like Cranberry Sundays like music. It's a simple song. It's hammering that one note over and over again. You get in and out in 2 minutes, so it has very much like that punk outline to it. But at the same time, it's got a little bit of Blondie element and all of that stuff because you have this female voice with like men singing backup and stuff. This is a perfect song as far as a forgotten gem because this is absolutely a song that I'm telling you about it, Crash by the Primitives, and you're going to be like, I don't know that song. And as soon as you hit play on our Spotify playlist to listen to this, you're going to be like, oh, yeah, that song. This is
Oh my
absolutely
gosh.
what it is. So, So I feel like as my list has gone, I finally settled on a song that is perfect for exactly the theme. It is Crash by the Primitives. That's it.
Great, great. You're right. I don't know it by its name. As far as I'm concerned right now, you're 5 for 5 on stumping your co-host. But Greg, I don't. I mean, I think these are great. It's a subjective thing. So,
Absolutely.
you know, forgotten is in the eyes of the beholder, as is pop and as is gem. So, your list is perfect. I'm really curious to see how they sound together interspersed.
I know. I am sending you the playlist now, so.
Oh, that's terrific. Um, you know, I don't know. Just I think what was fun about thinking of these songs, you brought up some other bands. I think, oh yeah, like Matthew Sweet. I used to love his album. I think it's called Girlfriend.
Hmm.
And the main that's that very song. I listened to that 100 times. And the Sundays, they had a big hit.
Yeah.
It's a little souvenir of a terrible year.
Hmm.
Here's where the story ends.
Here's where the story ends. I love
I
that.
love that song. See, that's the thing. And it takes me back. I mean, I think that song, I was in Madison. I was in Madison for Matthew Sweet, and I just be walking along. I had my Walkman on, and I just thought I was the thing, and
Mhm.
life was so perfect. And it's so complicated now. I don't know. I think nostalgia can whitewash everything. It just, when I hear some of these songs, I just think, God, I miss those days. Just things seemed simpler. Um,
Yeah, but it's also, again, I feel like nostalgia is a part of it, but surprise is also a part of it. It's this idea of like, it's like an old friend who you haven't seen in years and years and years. Or to relate it to my Camino experience, there was a person that I was walking with on the Camino. His name was Joseph. He was from Wales, and he and I just we hit it off. We were thick as thieves. We called ourselves day ones because we walked out of St. John together on the same day, and so we were like, day one we were together, and he ended up getting an injury about halfway through, and so his Camino was so fascinating. He didn't want to take buses or taxis or anything like that, but he wasn't able to walk. His knee was shot, and so what did he do? He hitchhiked the Camino. So
no.
he would get out on the street and he would put his thumb out, and he ended up getting about 30 or 40 rides from people around Spain, sometimes Spaniards, sometimes people visiting the country. He would get to know them. He would take a picture with them. He would offer to buy them a coffee whenever they dropped him off, and he followed the Camino. He was one of these guys that, because he was hitchhiking, I never knew when I would see him again. And so
Right.
if I would ever run into him in a town, it was this most delightful thing. It was like the prodigal son times 1,000 to see Joseph in a town, because it was like, oh my gosh, yeah, I never thought I would see
Right.
you again, and here you are. And that's what these songs are like. It's that joy of rediscovery kind of thing. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well said. Well said. God. I hope that when you're doing your Camino series, you're going to say something about, I mean, not to be too cliche, but how it's analogous to life somehow, or, the
Absolutely. Yeah, that's going to be
okay.
a major, major theme for the video
Okay.
series and the audio podcast. Yeah.
My God. All right, folks, that's a wrap. Music Diary, Forgotten Pop Gems, brought to you by Greg Knight and Ricardo Avila. We hope you enjoy these pop gems and that they trigger an interest in you kind of doing a little nostalgia trip of your own and finding your own forgotten pop gems. I don't know that we actually hear from people when we say, let us know what your things are, but this one I'd really like to know. Like, what are some pop gems that you have loved in the past and you feel like they're forgotten, but not in my heart? And so I want to tell you this. We'd love to hear that. So thank you, Greg. It's always good to write the diary with you. Every day we write the diary.
That's right. Thanks, Ricardo. This was a great episode. Thanks so much for the
Yeah,
idea.
thanks so much. Hey, everybody, join us again next time. And until then, keep those collars popped.
Pop, pop.